Welcome to the Rising Consciousness Show, 20 minutes of soulful insights and powerful tools to elevate your life experience and create with higher clarity, intention, and vision. I'm Tara Antler, intuitive healer and soul coach.
And I'm King Gabriel, spiritual teacher and practitioner. And we are the co-founders of Ascension Academy of Light,
a global center for spiritual growth, intuitive healing, and soul alignment.
Get ready to blast off.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Rising Consciousness Show. I am so grateful to be here with you today for a very powerful, intuitively flowing conversation about sacred sites, expanding our intuition, flowing with where we need to be in the world. And I believe we're going to touch on just intuitively what I'm picking up on is how we can actually activate deeper parts of ourselves by perhaps traveling to some sacred sites. And I have a really beautiful special guest, somebody that I met in Mexico. Many of you know Gabriel and I live in Mexico 6 months of the year. And we went to this incredible place called Sound Healing Tulum. I went twice because the energy, you know, I'm all very, very sensitive to energy. And this space is so sacred and so beautiful. The moment you step onto the grounds, it's almost like the grounds call you. There's this sacred energy that is streaming through, the way the light shines through the trees, the sounds that you hear in the distance, preparing you to go into this sound healing experience in a cenote. And so I am so grateful and honored to interview Joey McCune. She is the co-founder, creator, the visionary behind Sound Healing Tulum with her husband, Mitch. It's your husband, right? You guys are married?
Yes.
And so they're the visionaries. And I just want to share a little bit about who they are, because what they've created, if you ever have an opportunity to go and you're in the Tulum area, you need to follow what they have created. It is absolutely stunning. So they are the visionaries behind Sound Healing Tulum, which is an incredible cenote. So you imagine walking into this sacred space, you're prepared before you even go energetically. So there's this circle that opens up and they prepare you to clear out the old so that you're really walking into a fresh new space. And I know we're going to dive deeper into that, but they create these sanctuaries designed to really harmonize your state. It's like luxury meets the jungle. And so there's these profound energetic shifts that happen within the jungle alone. And then when you step into these natural surroundings and then the sound healing, you guys, this is like, it's such an incredible space. And I know that you both have been architects, you've done design work, you've created conscious spaces. Let's dive into this because I am so grateful that you are here and you're taking the time in the midst of a retreat. So thank you so much, Joey, for being here.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you. It's so fun. And I'm so happy that we connected and that we're neighbors and that we get to do this more often. That makes the magic. A little background on Mitch and myself. Mitch is a renowned architect and design build contractor from Seattle. And I owned a real estate company in Seattle as well as an interior design firm. So together we have curated a ton of homes and spaces for 30 years now.
Wow.
And this was a passion project. We decided we wanted to move internationally and build something really unique and extraordinary. And we knew that the property would find us, if that makes sense. And so what we do is we are all about quantum design and sacred space. So even when I am just hired to do someone's home, I talk to them on a really beautiful, intimate level about what sacred space means to them. You don't have to be woo-woo for sacred space, right?
That's
You can just have, your bedroom can be a sacred space. Your living room can be like, are you entertaining? Do you have family? What does sacred mean to you? And how are we going to incorporate that into your lifestyle? Because every property, every home, every project is all about what the sacredness is of that project. And so we ended up in the jungle in Tulum, and we knew we had a 66 million year old cave, and we didn't know what we were going to do with everything.
Wow.
And it just kept unfolding, and it's just so many miracles happened. The universe just kept opening doors for us to even find this property in the middle of nowhere. And then the cenote appeared. We thought it was a dry cenote. It didn't have water in it.
Wow.
So yeah. Did you know that actually?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, so do you want me to tell you about that a little bit?
Yes, especially seeing the place, like it's so incredible. And we're going to include some video clips so you can see, because hearing that, I'm shocked that you thought it was a dry cave because it's so water lush.
Yes. Okay. So basically, I've been a sound healer for 28 years now, long before it was trending and cool. Okay. I mean, I started with the Tibetan bowls, went into the crystal bowls when they came out, got into the alchemy bowls, the planetary gongs, all that. And I was doing that on the side as just like a gig out of my home in Seattle. And it grew into this massive business. And 9 years ago, I got a hit from God. And I'm not kidding. In the middle of the night, I just channeled, and I knew that it was a very divine message that I was supposed to go and build a sound temple. And I thought, what is this all about? And so I ignored it. Every night it got stronger and stronger. This message became more clear. The vision started like forming in my mind that I needed to hold a space that I'm sharing frequency and vibration in a very different way and be in service to humanity. And that I wasn't in service to humanity in what I was doing. I needed to take my gifts and go do it elsewhere. So I roll over in bed and I look at my husband and I said, honey, you know, the last kid's in his last year of college right now. The other one's launched. What do you think? Should we just go move internationally and go build a sound temple somewhere? And I was laughing. And he rolled over and he said, if this is a message you're receiving, then we need to do this.
Wow.
And so we said, what are we going to do? He owned this huge design build firm. I owned a real estate company. Like, it was a whole thing. And we're like, who's going to buy a design build firm? Because it's all about you and it's you. It's all built on you and your brand and what you do. Like, this isn't something you can really sell. And so we said, well, if it's meant to be, it's going to sell. We put it on the market, and 2 months later, we had multiple offers on it. So we're like, this is the answer. So we sold it and decided, let's start. We had been traveling for years and years and years and like rebirthing in all these beautiful sacred places. And finally, we decided on Mexico after traveling all over the world. It was just closed. There's many reasons why we chose Mexico, and that's another story. But we ended up coming back to Tulum 6 times. And I kept saying, I don't like it. Like, there's something about Tulum I just don't like. It's not what I envisioned that I was going to be living in. This is not the area that I want to be in. And so after looking at over 120 something houses, from Puerto Aventuras, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, Ishbuha, Acumal, like Tulum Country Club, like all the things. And I said, this isn't it. Like, I just can't do this. I don't know why we keep coming back here. And so my husband said, I found a house to rent in the jungle. And I was like, okay, I guess we could go to the jungle and just have like a romantic week or something, and before we close out and leave and forget Mexico, you know? So we rent this house. It was brand new built, and it ends up being the house that we bought.
Gosh.
All glass encased house. You haven't seen the house. You need to come see it.
Yes.
And I welcome you anytime. Floor to ceiling glass all the way. So you feel like the jungle is coming in. The birds are singing. It's just really beautiful. And it just had the house and a pool. And I looked at this and I thought, okay, it's raw jungle. This is amazing. We can build something here. But we're 35 minutes from town. You know, who's going to come here? This is not a known area. And then they said, well, there's a cave on the property. It's 66 million years old, but it's dry. There's nothing in it. A jaguar had some babies in it last year. You know, it's
oh my gosh.
And so we were like, so we machete our way down to this cave and we look at it, and I'm like, well, this could be cool, you know, but it was really dirty. It was just this whole like dark space. And we're like, okay, well, first we want to build a sound temple. So we convinced these people to sell us the house because it wasn't for sale.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And they had just built it. And so we said, we really think this house could be ours. And anyway, we negotiate it. We close on it. And the first things first, we decide we have to build a sound temple. So my husband curated this beautiful glass sound temple for me, floor to ceiling glass. It's beautiful.
Wow.
We have white hammocks that are suspended, and we incorporate the quantum design, meaning like the harmonics of bringing the outside in and being one with nature, and really incorporating the jungle and the wildlife and the birds and the crickets and the butterflies and, you know, the whole thing, and the views and the peacefulness. And we create this beautiful sound temple. And I'm thinking I'm semi-retiring and I'm going to be running a sound bath here and there. Who's going to find me in the jungle? Like, it's going to be a chill life as we grow old together, you know? And we start taking pictures. I open up my little Instagram. It has 1 picture on it, 2 pictures on it, 1 video, you know, I'm starting fresh. And I mean, people start coming because it's very Instagram worthy and pretty. And it's just the sound temple, which you haven't even been to yet. I have to bring you.
Yes.
And so people start coming and they're seeing this. And next thing you know, we're Netflix comes and we're on a Netflix episode.
Oh
and
my gosh.
then there's like all these things happening. And I'm like, oh gosh, it's, people are coming to our house. We build a little side space that is just off our house to greet people in. And I'm like, okay, this is growing too much. Now there's all these people in our house. What's happening? And then the pandemic hits. Right. And we're like, and I'm thinking, God, you told me to build a sand temple, and now the world's shutting down. I have no business. What's going to happen? I'm in the middle of Mexico, right? The embassy is calling me, telling me to leave Mexico. It's not safe here. Like all these things are happening. So I'm just like, what is happening? And then like 2 weeks later, Mexico opens its gates. All the people in the world are going through this dark night of the soul. They're all coming where? They're coming to Tulum. They're coming to the Riviera Maya. And I realized, trust in your message, because I was supposed to build something and have it prepared and be ready for what was to come. Right.
Ooh, I just had chills from head to toe. Ooh.
So I'm doing my sound bath. It's growing. Influencers are coming to Tulum. They're coming to me. It's all happening. And then my husband's mother dies of pneumonia, but we think in the end it was coronavirus actually. And she was elderly and she was in a home. So it was a horrible situation. And there's a lot to that story. So Mitch says, I'm going to go down to that cave and I'm going to go spend some time meditating down there in prayer and really try to connect to the land here. And he was really suffering. He was upset about this, obviously. So he goes down to the cave and he's down there all day long. And he comes running up and he said, Joey, we have water in our cave. And I said, what do you mean we have water in our cave? It's a dirty old dark cave. They told us no water. And he said, this bird called a tow, these beautiful birds that kind of look Dr. Seussy, and they're known to be the guardians of cenotes, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Live in the cave. And they were driving me crazy while I was in meditation and prayer. And it took me to the back of the cave and I saw it drinking. And I looked down and there's a puddle back there. And I took the flashlight and the pool cleaner, the long poles.
Yes.
And it just keeps going, Joey. And I saw a fish swim by. We're connected to the underground river system. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
I'm like, what? I'm like, well, what are you going to do? And he goes, I'm going to open it up. And I'm like, you're crazy. We don't know anything. Okay. So he and 5 men opened up that entire cenote. So what's really special about it is,
oh my gosh,
he envisioned the entire project. Everything that came out of that, he opened it up naturally with keep in mind, we're off grid, 100% off grid.
That's right.
So he's pulling with a rope and pulley systems and they're digging through limestone. We did have jackhammers, but that was the only power tool we had. They opened up the entire thing and then they pulled out all the rock and everything. And all that rock is what the beautiful floor is that we walk on now. And then they took the dirt and made the different levels and terraces in there.
Yes.
And then we ended up with this beautiful space, but it was a mud puddle for, it was a mud puddle for 8 months. And we thought, oh my gosh, you have to have an inflow and an outflow for a real cenote, right?
That's right.
And so we're like, well, maybe we just made a big mud puddle mess. And then one day he's diving down with Chedraui goggles on, like grocery store goggles, and we don't have any air tanks or anything. And the world was still sort of shut down,
Yes.
And so he's holding his breath. I'm tying a rope on him and he's going into these holes. And he's like, no,
my gosh.
It's opening up over here. It's opening up over here. And he's like, I feel the inflow right here. I feel the outflow over here. So he opens it up manually, holding his breath underwater. And one morning it was turquoise blue. And it just, and all the fish started coming in, the little turtles and all the things. And
oh my gosh,
we just had this beautiful ecosystem that started to create. And so we took a deep breath and we're like, well, we need to be in service to humanity with this, because this was a beautiful gift that was just bestowed upon us. And anyway, that's the story of the cenote and the water temple, which is what we call it. So we have the sound temple and we have the water temple, and it's obviously expanded far beyond what we ever thought it was going to expand to, So
I love that so much.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful hearing this story, because I think a lot of times people many times people do not trust when they get that divine guidance and wisdom. Like, you're going to do this. Many of us will be like, yay, let's go do this. Some people would go, you want me to do what now? And so I'd love to dive into that a little bit more in terms of trust, because you're what I would call an OG as well, because I've been doing this energetic work for a long time too, like 23, 24 years. And I remember I studied to become a sound healer as well. And now it's called sound baths, right? So, it's amazing to watch the transition of time and messaging. And I think it's so beautiful that you had this background, this wisdom already grounded within you. You're working in the design world. You get this divine guidance and message. And then you followed that trust. You followed that knowing. You might have taken a pause on it for a moment, but I'd love for you to speak into a little bit more, because when it comes to trusting our intuition, there's something so powerful within. That call gets louder and louder and louder. And so I'd love for you to speak into that a little bit more along the way, because trust, knowing that we just opened up a cenote that's a puddle, and now I have to trust even more, even deeper.
Well, I had to trust that people would even come to us. I mean, we're 5 miles into the jungle and in the middle of nowhere. We're not in Tulum. We call ourselves Sound Healing Tulum because we're on the very outskirts. We're in Ishbuha. It was an undiscovered place at the time. Now it's becoming the hip place, of course, but it wasn't 8.5 years ago, So I think it's a really beautiful story of inspiration and trust, and really letting it unfold. I really, truly had a message that I was supposed to go and build something like this. Didn't know that it was going to be a cave or cenote. The lesson in it is, maybe you think this is what you want and this is what you're manifesting, but don't ever put a ceiling on something that you're doing, because the universe or God or whatever you want to call it has bigger plans for you. And it will unfold really beautifully if you're open and allowing it to receive in receivership for that, right? So I have people come and they hear the story and they're crying, because a lot of people say, I'm going to move internationally. I'm going to go build something. I'm going to go open up a company, but they never do it. Fear stops them. They don't trust the process. So not only did we trust, and we were crazy. If I look back and if I told myself, would you do this? I'm not sure I would do it, because it was a lot of, we didn't speak Spanish. We had to run a Mayan staff that they don't even speak Spanish. They speak Mayan. We now are 32 employees strong with our staff.
Wow.
We have a huge operation, a restaurant, weddings, events, concerts, sound journeys, cacao ceremonies, all these beautiful healing ceremonies there. It's expanded well beyond anything I ever thought would ever happen. In fact, I'm hardly doing sound journeys anymore, because I now am running things and managing, I'm managing a restaurant, I'm managing a band, I'm managing.
Do you miss it? Do you miss holding the sacred space? I know you're holding the bigger sacred space. I'm holding
the bigger sacred space. So my gift has turned into curating sacred space in a different way and hosting and holding it in a very beautiful way. And I'm still interacting with all the clients. I'm meeting them. I'm holding space by sharing with them and talking to them, and then talking to them afterward. And I'm watching what happens in 3 hours. People come for 3 hours and visit us. And some people's lives are changed. You wouldn't hear the stories we get, and the transformation and the beautiful, magical, inspiring stories that we hear from people. Some people do a cacao ceremony with us, which isn't, we don't do normal anything, right? All of our stuff is completely curated to be otherworldly and next level. And so they come and do this. I've had literally couples that said, we're more in love this moment than we were the day of our marriage. We feel like we just remarried each other down there in that portal that you have, and also I should talk about this. Like, I'm all about light codes and portals. That's been a gift of mine my whole life. So of course I look at this as a portal that I've opened. I lead portals when you go on retreats with me. I find portals in places. So this is all part of that kind of a gift, right? And I am so happy that people feel the energetics of that, and that they come. And I'm so happy that I trusted, and that Mitch trusted, and that we did this together as a couple. I mean, sure, you can do it individually, but to have a spouse and a partner that will trust and do it with you is a really beautiful thing. And we look back now and it's like, if we would have known we were going to build out a cenote and a restaurant and weddings and all the things that we're doing with, Sound Healing Tulum, Cenote Sagrado Bet, Sacred Journeys. I mean, it has blown up into a whole thing. And I'm so ever grateful and thankful, but I would have never seen it. I didn't expect it. I didn't, that wasn't my goal. So it's a beautiful lesson in understanding on a deep level that if you're open to receive, don't put a ceiling on it, right? I mean, I thought I just want a sound temple. Well, if I would have just wanted that, my life would be very different than it is right now. So the gifts come in a different way, in unexpected ways, and it's not always easy. And you have to figure that and finesse through that. And when you push through, it ends up being such a gift. So
would you say that you're using all of your gifts now? Because as I look at you, I can see the strands and the streams of light and all the different things that you've done and who you are. And I see it all coming in. It's as though every single strand, every single piece is being utilized now.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think that I am using many of my gifts. I have this beautiful newfound appreciation for myself after this project. I say that with so much love and so much gratitude to Mexico and to the divine for empowering me to come to a place that I knew no one. I did not have one friend. I just had my husband. We had each other. We moved in the middle of nowhere, 5 miles into the jungle. We have jaguars and monkeys and parrots and toucans and forged a community and forged a legacy. I mean, at some point we'll sell this property and it's going to be a legacy that lives on, beyond what we've done. And that is such a beautiful gift. I don't know what my future holds. I know that now I have the fortitude, the understanding, the comprehension, the ability to trust in myself that whatever door opens, I'm going for it, and whatever my ideas are. And we all expand outside of, I thought I was going to be a sound healer my whole life, and that changed, right? So I'm really thankful for that. And do I use my gifts? Yes, I find ways to use my gifts in different ways. And I find gifts, my husband uses his, and together we get to make magic together, and it's really special. And we also make magic in our own. For you? What is a what?
What does a portal feel like for you? Because I'm very familiar with portals too. I'm just thinking about someone asking and wondering, what does it feel like? Because there's many of us that have traveled around the world, so we know a portal when we walk into it. You have a portal there for sure. I'll have to share with you at some point the experience I had, the first time I went. I felt it the moment I walked down. There was this energy, this essence where everything opened up. So I'd love to hear what that feels like for you when you sense. Is it a calling that comes first? Is it when you're walking on the land? And how would you describe that portal energy to someone who might be kind of new to that experience?
Well, I think it's all of the above, because I've been on Mount Shasta before, and I had a portal call me to that space, right? So that's when you have kind of a lead into one. When we bought this home, this property, I did not know there was a portal on it. I created the portal and I opened the portal. I also close it all the time, so it's not always open. But when I first went into the cave, I felt a different energy there, because it was a hidden energy. It was almost like a buried, old, earthly energy. And once we started exposing it, opening it, in my humanness, I started to feel and sense what was taking place there. We also did not start just digging without reverence to the land and to the guardians of the space, and to, we asked for divine guidance with that, and not just guidance, but permission to be digging into the earth and doing all these things. I mean, even when we built the sound temple, we planted crystals. I connected to the crystalline grid. I connected to Christ consciousness. I made sure to be very clean in my every movement and every act that we were doing there. So there's been a lot of care and effort put into that. But as far as portals go, I opened that one. I curated it. I really did create a portal and then opened it. And because I'm in service to humanity, I'm gifted that, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Also, I lead people to portals in Egypt. Of course, there's many portals. There's stargates, there's astral gates, there's all the things. And that's different. Those are known portals, known stargates. But when you're finding one, sometimes you're led to one, sometimes you have the gift to be able to create one. And I will tell you that in the cave, we are a portal within a portal within a portal. So the ancient Mayans believed that the cenotes are the entrance to their underworld, the Xibalba. That's where they go to heaven. So when you pass through to come to the other side, you go into the cenote. It takes you to heaven, where you meet God, where you meet the divine. So that itself is a portal. Cenotes are portals. So to open that up and bear witness to that birthing is obviously, there's an energetic movement to that. But I have walked in that cave and played instruments and moved through and given sound journeys. And now I receive them all the time, as does everyone else. There is a place in there where the instruments start to do funny things. That's where we do our ceremonies. That is the portal within the portal right there. Now, on top of that, what people don't realize is so special about the cenotes is that we know that we know that the cave is 66 million years old, because when the meteorite hit the earth, creating the ice age, when the dinosaurs went extinct, that hit just outside of Tulum in what's called the Chicxulub crater. You can't visit it because it's in the ocean, but that's where it literally hit, and that created the whole ice age. So it's believed to have this vortex of energy there, which is why so many people come for healing, and healers congregate there and all of that. Mixed with the Mayan cosmovision of the ancient Mayans, of course, the Yucatan is a very special place for all of that. So when that meteorite hit the earth, it broke into thousands of pieces all over the Yucatan, and each of those pieces landed, creating a sinkhole. Those sinkholes are the cenotes, with the second largest underground river system, right? So when you come down the stairs on our land, you see a circle, and that's where the piece of meteor hit our land. So that has created a vortex. That is a portal. Then the cave folded up over itself. That's the cave part that we go into. And then the water is underneath that. So that's why I say it's a portal within a portal within a portal. It has this vortex of energy. You're descending down into, you walk into the cave, you feel that energetics of that one space. And then the water itself is so sacred. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there's a lot to it, right? So
there is. I have chills again.
Yeah. The energetics of it are, and I'm lucky that I feel into that. Like, not everyone does. That being said, we had people pull up in cars, like the van will bring the guests. The second they get out of the van, they start crying. And it's like, I don't know why I'm crying. I don't know why I'm crying. I'm so, I'm embarrassed. I'm like, please don't be embarrassed, and I'm going to let you cry.
Yeah.
And I have no explanation as to why that happens, other than, and sometimes they cry when they start going down into the cave. Obviously, people have a lot of emotional release when they're in the cave. And then afterward, they're in so much gratitude. But I think what happens is that we live in this 3D world, right? And it's a crazy frequency. It's a crazy vibration. And we're in the rat race. We're on the hamster wheel of life. And all of a sudden you go 5 miles into the jungle and you're in this peaceful space. And you get out and you're hearing the birds and you hit that 5D. We're living in the 5D out there all the time. All we're doing is we're in service to humanity. We have people coming for healing every single day, all day long. Sometimes 3 massive sessions. We start at 8 a.m. and at 1 a.m. So like it's a long day, 6 days a week that we're doing this. And I think that they all of a sudden energetically feel the difference. They get out of the car and they're like, their body, their vibration is recalibrating to that space and that energy. And so it's like the portal starts then, right? Even before they hit it. So
absolutely.
I have no other explanation to why that happens, but it happens more often than not. People are just like emotionally releasing and they're laughing about it, or they're crying hysterically, or whatever it is. But it's a feeling of, this is a different space, And so
it's a preparing.
Yes.
I think energy does that, whether someone goes to a healer or they get an energetic attunement or go on a retreat, there's a preparing of the field, and the field is reaching out and it's doing what it needs to get us into receptivity for what's about to happen. And so the moment we arrive on the property, for me, there was a feeling of coming home, like my whole being felt at home. And it was so sacred. I didn't even want to talk. I just wanted to walk the path and feel and be present and stop where you have the sacred honoring of the little beings that are there, the underground.
Oh, the Aloosh, yes.
Yes, exactly. And so just stopping and pausing and being so present to it all. And when we went down, especially when I was there with Jenny, and we were a small group, I think we were 7 in total, something like that, 6 or 7. And when we walked down, I said, my head has to be at that lower platform by the water. I said, I have a feeling the water is about to bless, like do something around my crown. And as we're laying there and we're receiving, I couldn't sit down for the first little bit. I had to stay seated because the energy was so vibrant. It was so activating that I just knew. I said, I have to sit up. I have to let this run through. And then there'll be a point where I'll be able to lie down. And the moment I did, I saw this beautiful mermaid goddess energy come from the water and touch my head to the point where I thought some of the sound healers had come and actually touched my head. So that's how palpable it was. And I looked up and there's nobody there. And I said, okay, I feel you, sister. And she just came and she did the most incredible blessing. And she carried me the whole experience between the sound healers you had there at that time, because I know they vary from experience to experience. And there was a gentleman who was there. I think he's from Tibet, maybe, or something like that. He had a very low chanting voice. It activated me so much that I was traveling. I traveled to 12 different sacred sites around the earth. And we were activating and remembering, and I could feel the subtleties of the awakening, the opening, and the ping inside. And then I traveled to the cosmos, and then I saw the whole configuration of the group that was there. And I could see the energy strands as everybody was playing. I had to sit back up because I could see the energetic strands of light that were connecting everyone, the earth from above and below, the water. And the energy is so incredibly pure and powerful in that space. It reminds me of some of the more untapped portals that people would go to. I remember the first time I went to Sedona. And there were certain areas people were like, you have to go to this one. And I was like, no, I need to go over here. And the moment I stepped onto the less traveled path, that purity of energy again, it was there. It's same as on your property.
So you are really attuned to energy, I can tell, which is beautiful because not everyone can see that. And I see that as well. So the whole reason that we do sound journeys in there is because you're visualizing and you're able to explain and describe what's actually happening energetically and vibrationally and through frequency, right? That's what a sound journey is, right? We are taking you on a journey. We're activating you with all those frequencies. We're tying in from above and below. We're grounding you. We're helping you open up through your crown, but the music is coming in and you're getting codes. It's encoding you, right? So you were visualizing that, which is super, super beautiful. And I think the reason why our place is really special is because this was a hidden cave for all of its existence. Right. We had to machete to get into this place. It has only been used, other than for wild animals, in service to humanity since we opened it up and brought its jewel to life, which is the beautiful water, the sacred water in it. So this has, in 8 years, been a place that, and by the way, the guardians and the spirits of this cave are so happy. They're just dancing around all the time because they're like, wow, we're being seen, we're being used. We are in harmony with, this is you see us, right? Yes. And so as a result, it's gifted us with such powerful potency for our journeys and everything. I mean, our staff is amazing. They're incredible.
Yes, they are.
I will say this, when they've tried to play elsewhere, it's not the same. I mean, they're amazing. And they're also not allowed to do what they do with us anywhere else. But when they try to like play and do anything in on their own anywhere else, their gifts are not as prevalent. They're not as present. It's because the magic of the space is so potent energetically that everyone's magical there. I mean, every single one of us. It is so beautiful. And it's almost like miraculous how it happens. So I think you're right. It's a less traveled place, and it's not a public cenote where there's been people running around and, like there's nothing wrong with public cenotes, but this has been preserved for this moment in time. Yes. It's waited for us to find it and for whoever owns it in the future, so it's very special.
And you have some other special things happening across the world too. You want to tell us a little bit about your sacred journeys that you are doing around the world?
You're so sweet. Thank you. Yes, well, I've been leading retreats since 2007, so a really long time. I'm pretty world renowned for my retreats to Egypt. So what I lead in Egypt is basically, if you go to my website, it's all about portals. I lead people to portals, right? The Egypt portal is exquisite. I don't really think there's anyone else in the world leading retreats like this. And I shouldn't even call it a retreat. It's not a retreat. It's not a vacation. This is an initiate pilgrimage. So I lead my initiates through the Egyptian mystery school teachings of ancient Egypt. Amazing. And then we have activations, and I'm tapping you into each of the activations, the portals of each site that we go to. And it is 2 weeks. It's extraordinary. It's exhausting. It's transformational. I basically take anybody, but most people that come with me are awakened souls that are in this journey of remembrance of self. And so each place we go to is pulling together a part of self, bringing yourself into wholeness. We're building our light body, our Merkaba. We are in the Great Pyramid in the final culminating ceremony, bringing ourselves into wholeness. It's all about, I tie Christ consciousness into it. It's even Jesus spent time doing this pilgrimage, and Moses. So this is a very beautiful pilgrimage that is undescribable until you go on it. But I tend to have CEOs and leaders and people with big platforms and a lot of, I don't want to say celebs, but people who have really massive platforms. And my gift in this, because this is my dharma, my real dharma is leading retreats. And this one in particular, I have so many great grandchildren out there because, I'll have someone who will come on, and I'm just not a name dropper, but I have a lot of famous clients, and they will come and their life will be so changed that then they go back to your families, your work, your companies, your friends, whatever it is, your platform. And then you're sharing this information, and then it spreads, and it's the ripple effect, right? So it's such a beautiful ripple effect. And if you're leading retreats, that should be the only reason you're leading retreats, is because you are doing the ripple effect and you're changing people's lives in such an incredible dynamic way. And Egypt is one of those for me. I was there 6 times in the last 14 months.
So beautiful.
Yeah. So,
what would you say is being activated right now? Because it's really interesting that you said, I knew that you ran retreats globally, and I knew that they were highly energetic. And this morning when I was on the deck, I've been practicing yoga and meditation since I was 14. It was something that I self-discovered. And it's a practice that I've never put down. It's one it's a part of me. And as I'm sitting, I must have been picking up on you and the energy and what we were going to discuss today, because what I heard was exactly what you shared about there being this sacred activation and initiation, the attunements. I saw Christ energy. I saw the activations happening. I felt the alignment. And I said, this is an experience. This isn't just another retreat. This is an experience of remembering where parts of ourselves are being awakened. The consciousness is rising. And so I want to ask you, what is it you feel is being awakened or activated most right now within the consciousness of humanity, or what you've experienced on these journeys?
That's just a open-ended question. I'm not even sure I can answer that. Egypt we go to 14 sites, and each site is a different activation. So one might be the divine mind, one might be duality, neutrality, one might be abundance codes. And now I also want to say, because I'm not the person that says, I promise you're going to get married and fall in love. I promise you're going to make millions of dollars. I promise you're going to, draw in everything you want in your life and buy a Ferrari. That's not what I do.
No.
However, because of the potency of what I lead, these are natural side effects that take place for people.
Absolutely.
But I would never promise that. I always say there's before Egypt and there's after. It's impossible to stay the same.
That's right.
So the activations are really
the divine
numerous.
Overflow.
Yes, of course. So each one has and that's kind of my secret sauce. So it's hard for me to share that. I actually have a book that I'm ready to publish here pretty soon, which will share some of this information. But every site has we're tapping into from our heart space into the interdimensional space in each of these sites, so that you don't actually have to go there. Of course, when you're there, it's a whole other ball game, right? but you should be able to tap into the energetics of these sites without having to physically be there. And they're each a completely different activation that brings you into wholeness, so that you're releasing your story, you're writing your new one, you're calling in your birthright to abundance. Your divine mind, your consciousness is opening up to the divine. You're pouring in those codes. Every single place is different. And we do this through private visits. Like, we're the only one at the Sphinx in between the pause in meditation and activating there. We're the only ones at Isis Temple. We're the only ones at Sekhmet's Chapel. We're the only ones in the Great Pyramid by ourselves in a ceremony. Some of them are not private, but it is an amazing, amazing journey. And it's hard to describe what each activation is, because I'm taking you through a really lengthy meditation, visual meditation. I provide a book that you're reading and understanding the timeline of the beginning of time to where we are now, where the Bible ties into that, where Christianity ties in, where, because Jesus was real. So I'm not saying because you're New Age and there was Isis and Osiris that there's no Bible. There's all of that ties in together. So it's so much more than what I can say as an activation, but I think as a collective, and what I'm seeing in honoring self, is that everyone now that is either coming into an awakened state or that's already awakened is fully coming into remembrance of self. They're bringing themselves in wholeness. So that sounds like it's just an extension of my retreat, but that really is the crux of what's happening right now, because we've lost ourselves and we've forgotten who we are and our connection. So it's that remembrance, and it's that bringing you into fullness so that you are embodied and can go forward and do what you need to do in the world. And so that is a hugely important, factor in all of this. Whatever journey you go on and what you're working through your trauma, it's interesting. I have this other retreat that I'm doing soon. That's very ceremonial. And part of it that we're learning is in leading retreats is that everyone comes with this trauma that they want to release. You're comfortable living in your trauma and your chaos. And it's really hard to get out of that, right?
I totally agree with you.
So all you have to do is just choose to get out of that. And we're here to help you remember how to do that. So that is also a part of the activation. Now, is that the only thing we do? 100% no. And certainly you don't need to be in trauma to go on a retreat. But I'm just saying, after leading so many of them over so many years, that is a theme that we see, right? And it's so beautiful to bring people into heart space in a different way and connect them consciously in a different way. So
I love that so much. I feel like this has been such a beautiful conversation. Like, we could go in so many different directions about quantum energy, quantum architecture. I'd love to have you come back sometime and talk about what's in store for humanity, why activations are really, really important, and all the other wonderful things.
Oh, I would love that.
I also want to thank you for listening to your divine call, listening and feeling into that divine truth and the path that you've walked, and for staying steady and true and creating all that you have, for creating Sound Healing Tulum, for creating your sacred retreats and everything else that I know that you're creating. It's just so beautiful. And when's the next retreat happening in Egypt? Because I think I said this to you, I'm coming.
Oh, I would love that. October is our next one.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks, and we can't do anything about that. You need 2 weeks to do it.
Yes,
but it's an investment in self. So I'll send you the Zoom and everything. Yeah,
and we'll post all the links for all the things where people can find you, where they can get more information about you, your world, your work in the world. It's just so incredible and so inspiring, so beautiful. And you are such an incredible light-filled being. I feel it. I see it. You're living it, and it's so incredible and beautiful. So I want to thank you so much for all that you are on this planet at this time.
Thank you so much, Tara. I really appreciate that. We have a lot of things unfolding for the future, so stay tuned.
Yes, absolutely. I feel that. Thank you so much. Have such a beautiful day. Have an incredible retreat.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thanks,
See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Before you go, we want to extend this beautiful invitation to join us in the Pearl Activation, Living and Being Your Higher Self. This is more than just a workshop. This is a experience where you get to enter a new vibrational field, a sacred chamber that is within you, that's been held by your soul, by your higher self from the beginning of time. This experience is designed to help you attune to you, to lift you into a new reality, the expanded version of you, so that you activate your intuitive gifts. You live as your higher self. You evolve the identity. Instead of being seeker, you move into that sovereign co-creatorship, really trusting your inner guidance with absolute clarity, being able to collapse time between what you want, what you desire, and the manifested coming to fruition version, being able to release the old, rise into the new, come back into your magnetic presence and power that is your higher self. When you live as your higher self, you begin to feel fulfilled, deeply guided, extremely aligned in every area of your life, and life gets to be really fun. And this doesn't need to take years. This transformation can happen very quickly, very gracefully, with cosmic precision. And Gabriel and I are excited to invite you to be your host, to be in the right space, to be held by us so that we can help you activate your own inner pearl, your own divine wisdom. So if you want to join us in this free experience, it kicks off on June 23rd to the 27th. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes below, and we will send everything to you. We can't wait to see you there, and we look forward to seeing all that you become in this next version of your higher self. Thank you so much for joining us today on another episode of the Rising Consciousness Show. For more high vibration conversations, meditations, energy activations, and tips and tools on creating your most exceptional life, we lovingly invite you to connect with us at academyoflight.ca. The website is www.academyoflight.ca. It is time to create your heaven on earth experience, and we look forward to sharing this beautiful journey with you.
You're listening to Rising Consciousness, yeah.
Woo!
Woo!